We're here at the 27th Annual La Jolla Conference, and one of our long-time supporters at Fitch Ratings, but particularly Lucas Aristizabal. Welcome back to La Jolla.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for having us here again.
We always like to have Lucas and Fitch Ratings on the panel because after the government officials give their results and after some of the industry participants talk about all the things they're doing, then Lucas brings some of the Fitch Ratings specificity to the topic. In this case, in the Mexico panel this morning, you got into something very important, and that's the credit rating and the importance of the counterparties in Mexico of the state-owned enterprises, CFE, but particularly Pemex. Tell us a little bit more about what you mean by the sort of credit horizon and why you think it's important to keep an eye on it.
Sure. So we've been rating Pemex in line with the government because of the company's strategic importance for the economy. And what we look at is the socio-political implication or the financial implication a default, a missing payment of debt at Pemex could have for Mexico. Right. And when we looked at those two aspects, they're very critical. They will have extremely high implications for the country if Pemex were not to serve its obligations. So because of those two premises, we base our rating and equalize them to that of the sovereign. So to the extent that, that will need that the government continues to recognize that strategic importance. So if the government continues managing the company as they have by extracting this tremendous amount of value out of the company and into the government coffers, the credit quality, the underlying credit quality of the company will continue deteriorating to a point that is going to make it more difficult for us to continue saying that the government recognizes how strategic important the company is for the country.
Just so I make sure I understand this, because I'm not a finance specialist, so your ability to rate them currently is a largely sovereign rating, but what you're saying is that may be less so the case going forward. Do I have that correct?
Yes, absolutely. It could be so. Right now, it's purely sovereign-driven. So in the credit quality and the rating, it is based on the government's credit quality. Right. The underlying credit quality of the company has been deteriorating for quite a number of years now because of the amount of debt the company keeps issuing year after year. Now, Pemex reported first quarter numbers of total debt more than $100 billion, wow. While production continues to decline and cash flow generation continues to suffer.
So obviously, the gorilla in the room is $105 billion of debt at Pemex, but what about CFE?
CFE is on a more manageable situation. The premise for the rating is very similar to that of Pemex, where the company is very strategic important for the country, and that allows us to equalize the ratings with those of the sovereign. But when we looked at the company's standalone profile, it's not as weak as it is for Pemex. The debt balance is more manageable. The capital structure is a little bit more manageable. The company receives cash injections from the government in the form of subsidies that help it. We will say on a standalone basis, maybe be in line with a BB rating. Instead of for Pemex, when we looked at Pemex on a standalone basis, we will say maybe it's more of a B- rating.
So a little bit less credit downside for the power monopoly or the power state-owned enterprise, CFE, basically.
Correct, yes.
Lucas, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. Say hello to Dan with Castellan, would you? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.